everyone, and welcome to Patch Rundown 6.12 or 6.12 for those of you who like to pronounce it incorrectly. We are once again missing my favorite co-host, Aiden Zyrene Moon. So we instead have my second favorite co-host, who now, in addition to being the best Falco at Riot Games, is also the best Genji at Riot Games.
Am I?
Wow, Wesley.
I don't know about that one.
Wesley SmashGizmo Ruttle.
I think Miles is better than me at Falco too, man. This is
Look, hey, give yourself some credit.
All right, yeah,
SmashGizmo, he's here. He's right there
it.
across the
Great
table.
Falco
That's
and Genji.
him.
Got it.
Also, we have from a previous podcast that hopefully you listened to, Joseph, Joe, Fearless, Graylock, Bullock, Graylock, Riot Fearless, Joe Graylock, head of the systems team. How you doing, man?
I was okay. I feel worse about things after that intro, and then I'm staring at the death pit behind me in the recording room.
You know, let's full disclosure. There is a hole in the room that we are in right now, covered with sand.
That's
dirt.
sand or
That
dirt?
is
I
like
think that's
graveyard dirt. Like this is
I'm
really
choosing
ominous.
that it's sand. We're going under some renovations here in the little podcast area, but if either Wes or Joe say things that we don't like, we're just going to push them in. So 6.12.
12. There you go.
The ARAM patch.
Yep.
So before we get into some of the ARAM changes, we have other stuff, non-ARAM stuff in here too, but break down for me what are the goals of the ARAM patch? Why are we touching them now?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's just been a long time since we've touched ARAM stuff, and it felt like, man, players love this mode. They play this mode a ton, right? Like, we all play this mode a ton. You walk around during lunch, everyone's playing ARAMs. It's like, it's a cool map that people love to play, and honestly, like, we have kind of been ignoring it for a long time, and we wanted to, give it a freshen up, right? Just look through there, see what stuff we could clean up, make cooler, make it a better game mode for people,
Yeah. Joe, you big ARAM player?
I do like ARAM. The exciting thing about these changes for me was this is a lot of like low-hanging fruit. Like, we did not go and try to make giant fundamental changes as much as like there's some easy pain points we could fix that we could make better that I think players will feel really good about, but we're not trying to like rebuild the game mode too. It's just do a nice little touch up to a thing that we know a bunch of players love.
Yeah, I think that to me was a big thing. I remember in the meetings, right? Brian Feeney, Feral Pony, lead Lord Live Designer, whatever his title is.
King of Live Gameplay.
Yeah, King of Live Gameplay. That's correct. Yep. Was very adamant about, hey, we shouldn't, we're not going to try to balance ARAM necessarily, right? ARAM inherently as a random game mode, it's going to be unbalanced. You're going to have games you get stomped. You're going to have games that you completely stomp the other team. This is more about trying to target the really, really rough edges and try to find a way to kind of bring them in, maybe make you feel a little more hope in some of the situations where you get like 5 Olaf or whatever, the all melee team.
There are no duplicates, Patrick. I don't know.
Geez,
do you play
not
ARAM?
play ARAM? Come
Is this
on.
not? Is this Tavern Brawl? Is that what we're talking about right now?
Oh no!
All right. Okay. So let's get into it. We have a little, kind of our first stop here is we have a couple champions. The infinite, some of our infinite scaling champions, Bard, Thresh, and Nasus. Just kind of getting their infinite scalers buffed up on the map. And I mean, this one seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
right?
super straightforward. It's a faster game mode. Games don't last as long if you have a little game that you're supposed to play to help your character stack up throughout the whole game. It wasn't appropriate that it was still spawning at the same rate as a Summoner's Rift because you get gold and levels so much faster. These things need to build up faster too. Pretty straightforward stuff.
Yeah, this is like, Nasus is really good on ARAM, but like not for the reasons you would normally expect Nasus to be good on ARAM. So now, for those like 2 players out there who still like to stacktivate, more reward for your things, basically, right?
I will say these changes led to my very favorite playtest experience of all time.
Oh, wow.
Because in testing Thresh, I at one point had 3,000 armor, and it was the most fun game I have ever had. I felt really good at the game.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
He was
time.
very hard to kill. We had 1 magic damage dealer on our team.
But where were your last whispers? I guess 40% of 3,000 is still a
it
lot.
doesn't really work.
Quite a lot. Yeah, never mind. What am I talking about?
Yeah, no,
All
we
right.
had them in cleavers.
Okay, so moving on to something a little bigger, we have a lot of changes to summoner spells and summoner spell cooldowns.
Yep.
Specifically, right? It looks like there's a new buff, 40% reduced summoner spell cooldowns on the map.
Yeah, man. So I think what we started to notice with Mark Dash when that was added is that like the pacing of summoner spells we could get way more aggressive on this map with, and then we are just retroactively applying this to basically all summoners, right? It's like Mark Dash has become so, universal on that map. Everyone takes it because it's such a low cooldown and you get to do so many cool things. And we were like, well, why don't we just let them do the stuff that they do on Summoner's Rift, except more frequently, right?
Yeah.
So 40% less cooldown on, Exhaust or Ignite or Flash, right? Flash is, of course, everyone's going to take Flash. Not everyone, but a lot of people are going to take Flash.
More people will take Flash than they did before.
And what we noticed is like people get to make more big, cool plays when you give them more summoner spells. So it's. I mean, we've been loving it when we play it. It's really fun.
So I know both of you have kind of worked a little bit or thought about the summoner spell space for me. Something, Joe, if you can break down for me, like what is the actual intent or what is the role that you see summoner spells having? Period. Right, like in a broad League of Legends sense. Like what are they good for at all?
I think the thing we love most about summoner spells is they are these massive boosts of power on these really long cooldowns that allow matchups that are otherwise pretty locked in to have a very big difference, right? Like you can be getting crushed as a mid laner, but you might have that window when your Ignite and Flash are both up to make some big play and get a kill back in and try to get back in the game. And having that frequently unequal amount of power available to players, I think, is huge for why lanes stay exciting, why the game doesn't solve out really, really hard. And there's also not a lot of nice pacing, right? You don't have to be always worried about the Shaco coming to gank you and igniting you and killing you.
Because for this window, I'm safe because I have.
I know he used
my ghost
that
or
thing,
barrier or whatever. Right. Yeah.
Or his Ignite's down, and I know that. Right. Like those things are important. The thing where
do always take Ignite, don't they?
They usually do.
You should. Yeah. Yeah.
Shaco expert Joe Graylock.
He's kind of fun. What?
No,
we are judging you, but
no, that's fair. I think in ARAM you see that kind of breakdown because that pacing is much less important, right? You're not going to stop fighting to wait for your summoners to come back because you can't, because it's one giant 20-minute fight.
Yeah. So, I usually opt not to take Flash specifically for that reason because I'm like, how many times in a 17-minute game am I going to Flash? Right? And what is the relative impact of this going to be? Because it's like...
That was fast.
Yeah.
I can do basic math.
Well, that's if I do it on cooldown, right?
Yeah.
That's like...
So you're doing it.
Okay, yeah, I do. I actually am that kind of troll that will flash in a health pack like almost instantly.
Yeah. No, that's
correct.
Okay, good. And now I can do it more often.
Yeah,
indirect buff to BMing on this map. Fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean it's not just about the windows breaking down. It's also just the pacing of everything. Like 3 minutes means a lot more in ARAM because you respawn faster, you run down the lane faster. There's nothing else to distract you. Like people are just constantly fighting. Cooldowns still feel like a thing. It's just less of a thing, right?
Right. Yep. So you're talking about running it down mid. We have the new home start buff.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the handsome person who came up with that idea.
Man, who was that? Who came up with that idea? Can you remind me?
I heard
Patrick?
he was really good looking. I heard he was a fantastic host.
Oh yeah.
Leandro?
Oh
yeah,
my God. I'm tilted.
Okay, all right. No, so
you don't actually have to tell them about that, but tell me about how it's been.
No, it was a good idea, Patrick. Good job. Thank you. Okay, so
writing that on my Facebook.
Right. So we're actually doing the opposite of home guard on this, which we've been calling lovingly home start. What we were noticing is that until you bought movement speed items and the I guess outer turrets go down, the pacing of ARAM, like there's this big lull where you're just like walking slowly back to lane with your base movement speed, and it was preventing people from doing what they want to do, which is bash their heads together on Murder Bridge, right? Like that's the fun of it. And so we felt like the inverse of home guard is what made sense here, which is just get people back into the fray early in the game, and then once those outer turrets go down and the game starts to break down into the inhibitor, crack the base type stuff, then we no longer have it. So yeah.
This as well, and this is something I kind of want to keep talking about over our next couple changes, is at least how we're writing in the patches. This is like 1 in 3 parts that is kind of helping the melee problem on this map, right? And that's I guess you guys can probably expand on it, right? But it's when you are a melee champion on ARAM, within reason, you usually aren't able to play the game, right? Like your Jaxes, Aurelias, Xinshaos, Udyrs, right? Snowball, I think, went a long way in making these characters have comebacks, but like early game, you try to go for a minion because all of you are fighting over minions, and Vel'Koz, Varus, Lux light you up. Now they're all 6 and you're 4, and it kind of snowballs out from there, right? So I think we felt like, giving you a ton of movement speed to come back earlier to kind of help recoup some of those losses and not lose massive amounts of XP, right, is kind of the first way to tackle the problem.
Yeah, I mean, with melee teams, we were seeing that like ults were such a big part of what let them engage. So that 3 to 6 lull in an all melee team like usually meant you were like dying a lot to poke and stuff, and giving them some early movement speed to come back and like even just catch up in XP, even if they're not coming right back into the fray, made a big difference.
Yeah. So part 2, I suppose, of trying to solve this problem, as well as just kind of make everything else out, is changes to experience. Now, Joe, I know you guys, your team as well, has been playtesting a lot of ARAM. Tell me, how has the experience changes kind of felt? Like, how has this really affected things?
I mean, we've had games that feel like the pace has really kicked up a couple of times. And the funniest thing was, a couple of times that was because we had bloody games. Like, so before the changes were even in, we were just like, partially due to the home start, partially due to, I think, people loving to kill people on other teams, right? Just like, we're playing playtest. We've had games where the XP curves really did feel quite fast, and then we put these changes in, and we're like, oh, yeah, cool. We like leveling. This is great. The biggest thing is that 6 to 11 lull that sometimes feels like catastrophically long, especially I think on a team that's not doing very well, does get condensed down to something that feels actually even just closer to the regular game in terms of pacing and where you expect your levels to be. I think one of the biggest frustrations on ARAM was the other team has level 11 and we're like 8. Like if you're doing badly,
I was talking about the 6 to 4 earlier, right? That's the nightmare.
Yeah.
When you're like, oh, they're just going to dive the shit out of us, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. But the ult level discrepancies, I think, really do a lot better with these both bloodier games and nice, like kind of gentler XP curves. You have a less of these like really, really disparate level disparities between the two teams.
Yeah. I mean, one of the pieces here too is that champion kills are worth less experience relative to like all the experience that you're getting. So particularly those early snowballing games have been, at least in our experience, less aggressive.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too, that we, when we were kind of drafting up or talking about all these changes, right, is you kind of, especially if you're not playing ARAM with a full 5, and sometimes even if you are, it's hard to understand why you're losing in a lot of cases, right? And so we'll get to this one in just a sec, but you know, you have like Jax, Yasuo, and then maybe 3 other really strong members like poke guys or healer guys or whatever, and they're fighting in the minion wave because they're trying to get last hits, and you just get blown up, and then that sends the XP curve so out of whack now for the rest of the game that even if, okay, we hit 6 a little shortly thereafter, the advantages that they're cashing in, you know, it feels a constant uphill battle, I think is kind of how we've been phrasing it.
Yeah. Especially in team fights, right? Like when another team all get their ults and then start a team fight, that feels very different from like, oh, 1 or 2 people are ahead. But in ARAM, everyone is probably going to get that advantage, and it really does hit hard. So anything to kind of make that more gentle, I think, does a lot.
Let's kind of close out the rest of the melee problem, our 3-parter, with we changed a lot about gold and how gold gets distributed, right? And specifically speaking, higher ambient gold, higher gold on champion kill, higher gold on minions across the board. There's a lot more gold for everyone, but then gold no longer scales on minions.
Yeah, so gold scaling on minions on ARAM was actually pretty aggressive prior to this patch, and so over time, last hits kept getting more and more important, and then characters who had really strong later wave clear would kind of funnel all the gold into them, and you'd see crazy things where it's just like, I don't know, Varus, you know, is one-shotting minion waves, and is just like, at the end of the game, he's like 7k ahead of everyone, and part of the point is like, on ARAM, right, like everyone's supposed to be getting a bunch of gold and like being able to participate in team fights. You know, having some disparity is okay between those, but like we felt like it was pushed too far in favor of people who had a lot of wave clear. So what we were going for here is like, let's move more of the gold into the passive component and less of it from especially the later minion last hits, because like the early ones, you know, no one's doing a ton of damage, so you know you can kind of fight for them, you can get yours in here and there, but especially those later ones, as soon as you have, you know, a Xerath, a Varus, a Lux, a Ziggs, right? Like there are all these guys who could just like funnel all the gold into themselves, and it was just like way too much as far as we could tell.
Yeah, I've always had struggles with this personally, because there'll be like, oh, you have like a talent on your team, and it's like, you should be giving the gold to that person, right? But they're like, haha, I just want to last hit. It's like, it's weird that it should ever be the play to want to donate a lot of gold to a specific person on a map like ARAM, right?
Yeah.
Because it feels so counter to what the mode is really about. So it feels to me like just kind of spreading it around and saying like, yeah, let's give more equal distribution, and then let the people with the kills, right, kind of find their way into the gold share, and kind of let everyone stack up evenly. Because I feel so odd having hyper scaling champions like Jax on my team, and I'm like, what are you even doing? Get away from the wave. That's not for you. That's for our Lux.
Yeah, like when we're talking about the melee disparity, particularly with this one, like a lot of people don't realize how multiplicative gold is because of the way our systems work. But like trying to be a melee character against one of these characters that just kind of accidentally eats up all the gold, the amount of damage output one of these characters is going to have versus the tankiness you can build as someone who is not getting gold on that map, because of the reliability that they're going to be that far ahead, like you said, like 7k ahead or something ridiculous, right? Like it is kind of unbalanceable if we don't fix that core issue of like, yeah, this guy has like double your gold. It just doesn't work. The systems can't really hold up for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all in agreement here. I'm excited to play more ARAM after at least these changes, because I love playing big, dumb melee idiots, and I hate having to, like, I guess I'll re-roll this one away, or, like, pawn it off on someone so that I can, like, get...
Anyone want Shen?
Yeah. Hey, who wants Shen? Except I will always fight for Jhin. If I always see Jhin, I will want to play that guy, because curtain call on that map is too hype. It's the most fun you can have.
They can't run out of the cone, man.
Yeah,
it's not fair.
It's the length of the lane. All right. We have a couple more changes here. Getting into health packs. Health packs, I know, is a tough question. We had a lot of different iterations that people may have seen on the PBE, but specifically, I think a big question is what are health packs actually for? I remember they were just kind of added way back in the Thunderdome days, like, it seems like it'd be fun to have a thing here, but we never really figured out what their purpose is or what they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, so health packs should give health. They should help you come out.
Yeah.
All right, so no, but seriously, on this map, there's kind of always this thing where if you got really low, it felt like there was no way for you to like participate again until you died. So you kind of needed some sort of sustain built into the map to like give people something where they're like, oh, but if I like grab a couple health packs, I'll be okay.
Maybe I like kamikaze back in or do something good. You know?
It also gives people something to fight over, which is really important. It's like outside of the towers, health packs are like the only other thing to really fight over with the other team. And so if there's something to give players something that they want to like, hey, you know, the other team's going to get that. If we don't get that, let's fight them for this. And so, I mean, the changes here, I guess, you know, they're pretty light in this case. One of the things we noticed is that the mana return was just kind of insane on it. Health packs ended up being more about being mana packs in later ARAM. Is just like, even if you were low, you were supposed to give that to Soraka so that she'd have the mana to then heal everyone else. And it's like, wait a second, like
that's a Sona pack. That's what it is right there.
Sona and Nami pack. Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, we're just trying to clean it up, making sure it's more about the health, and then we increased the respawn timer just because we felt like there's too much fighting over them at 40 seconds. 60 seconds felt like a more natural times up with minion waves. It just makes it easier to kind of understand when health packs are coming up and when to fight over them.
Yeah. When we were first talking about these changes, I was like, no, don't take away my mana. I really like casting my abilities and stuff, right? That seems cool. But then I think what we found, they're really, you know, who likes mana the most? Well, healers that we're talking about, but then also the Varus, the Vel'Koz, the people that we're talking about, right? Who usually have pretty low cooldowns and low mana costs on some of those poke spells, you know, especially if we're talking like Ezreal, right? So they're converting that at like a crazy rate.
Yeah. again, that it feels like you hit it, right? That's just the case.
Well, and they're getting to go gas clanning because they know everyone is going to give them these mana packs, so they're not buying mana items because why would you? Because there's free mana everywhere. Like it's a super cyclical problem too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are getting into the items territory for ARAM, which I know, Wes, you also worked on here, but removing a lot of items. So let's see. We'll read them off. Have a little eulogy here. Doran's Blade, Doran's Ring, Doran's Shield, Arcane Sweeper, and the Lightbringer, as well as the Orb of Winter, Entropy, and the Wicked Hatchet. Good night, friends. But yeah, we're moved. This is actually a sizable amount of items. Joe, did we miss any of these items in playtest? Was anyone sad we didn't have them? These like little vision items? Anything?
Are these items?
Is that League of Legends PC edition?
This is weird. Doran.
Doran's Blade.
I mean, I think obviously the fallback of like I'll stack a bunch of Dorans and see if I can get back into the game is out. I don't think that's one we think is fun or particularly good for the game. I mean, I think there'll be some people worried about some of the vision detection stuff. I know we have other things that are kind of addressing that problem. I think people will be happier not having to worry about should I go buy that thing.
Yeah,
most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing on these vision ones that I kind of want to hit on is that the stat lines on these items were all really bad. Like you looked at their gold efficiency, they were awful.
Oh yeah, the sweeper,
super bad. Arcane Sweeper in particular was just awful.
I feel bad because I felt like if I was playing ARAM, you know, with like a bunch of your friends with different skills, you'd get the person who's the least skilled to buy Arcane Sweeper because you're like, hey, you can help us please buy this thing. We really need it, but the efficiency is so bad. Why is it?
Yeah, and I guess our feeling too is like just these items that are taking up space in your inventory and like you're only buying them because the other team has a Teemo. We felt like it was better serviced to just like get that answer into the elixir space where it's not taking up space in your inventory. It's a relatively small gold like on a need to have basis that you get an Oracle's Extract when you need Oracle's Extract. Don't worry yourself about these items that are just like so just awful jank, and ruin your build path. Yeah. And
the tax of like screw up your entire power curve to
just to deal with the trap character. Yeah,
that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for these items to be so inefficient. I think a very small tax on the elixirs make a lot more sense and feel better, right? You're still buying items, you're still doing your normal stuff as a champion. I think it just feels a lot more like League of Legends this way.
So then I guess last one before we move on, because we're kind of talking about Oracle's Extract. The last three, Orb of Winter, Entropy, Wicked Hatchet. Any special reasoning for them?
Sure. So Wicked Hatchet was only on there because it built into Lightbringer, which was also carried over from I think Twisted Treeline. I don't know. Wicked Hatchet went because Lightbringer went.
Yeah.
Basically, it doesn't have a reason to exist if it doesn't build into Lightbringer.
What if I really like the icon?
I
know, yeah.
It'll come back someday, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But Orb of Winter. I remember this one because this was added post-release.
Yeah, so Orb of Winter was added to be like a anti-poke item post-release. This was in a world before Spectre's Cowl even existed. We're talking like a really long time ago.
Wow. I guess that would have been like season 3, but like early season 3.
Early season 3, I think sounds right.
Yeah.
Basically, we looked at Orb of Winter and we're like, okay, what is it supposed to be? Anti-poke. What anti-poke options exist? Spectre's Cowl, Banshee's Veil, or Spirit Visage. You know, either way you go with Spectre's Cowl, they're already kind of doing what Orb of Winter does. And Warmogs is also your like anti-poke like healing item, and Orb of Winter ultimately is just kind of a trap relative to all of those. It wasn't as efficient as those. Like the shield paradigm, like Malphite Shield, actually is not great against poke because they tend to consistently hit you, so you're not getting it back up. the item felt like a trap, and we had ideated a little bit on like what could we do to make this a better anti-poke item, and we kept ending up back at Spectre's Cowl. So it's just like, okay, man, we're kind of done with this, and we could use the icon, which we'll get to.
We salvaged that sweet icon. So,
but I guess we should talk about Entropy real quick before we move on, right? Entropy, similarly, was just in this space where it's just like, if you really want to stick to someone, there's Frozen Mallet. Its stat line is kind of awkward and not really there. No one knows where to fit.
It was like a BF sword and a phage?
BF sword and phage, and then you activated it to get red buff for like 10 seconds, and it was on like some sort of cooldown. Basically, it was an active that like very few people ever knew about or remembered to use when they actually did buy it. It just...
An active item that people used poorly?
Yeah, I know, shocking, right? But yeah, it felt out of place. At that point, it's like, why is this even here? So
yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the other items in just a sec. We're almost done with our ARAM section here, but we just talked a lot about these really poor stat line vision items. But we have changes to Oracle's Extract.
Yep.
So hook me with that. That's costs a little bit more. Now persists through death. And now when you see targets, you get the what is it? The sweeping lens.
The lens.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that covers it, and the persisting through death is huge. That was the big one that we really noticed Extract was falling flat on, is like, you have to face check this book as a push against the Teemo, and then he kills you, and then you lost your whole investment, right?
Yeah.
It was like, that's why the other ones felt like the Lightbringer and the Arcane Sweeper felt so much more necessary, because you have to take risks to clear out these traps sometimes, and if you lose your whole investment for it.
And if you think about what we were talking about earlier in the cast, right, where we're talking about how hard it is to actually get gold on certain characters. So if you're already the relegated to buying the Oracle's Extract character, you probably 250 gold is a lot of gold for you, while Lux is laughing her way to the bank, like farming infinite minions, and is like, oh, I guess I'll get one. Maybe I have to finish my 16 rod items. Yeah, let me get full build first. Yeah, the only thing I think about this is I know. And maybe this is just something we can't really get away from, at least for a while in our game. But, it feels like if you're playing a trap character or a stealth character, in League's lifetime, you're either really hard to deal with or you have been hard countered, right? Because we harken back to like old Oracle's Elixir, right? Just buy this thing and then have it until you die with no downtime ever. Just put it on Alistar and laugh a lot. You're like, it feels like you're in a rough spot. And so I know there are some AP Shaco players out there who will be less than excited when they see this change.
I mean, I think the sweeper tech goes a little bit in that direction. It's one of the things we've been trying out a lot, which is, can we give you some sort of stealth detection that doesn't feel like it might as well just auto kill things for you? Being able to show that a thing is there, but not give you that same total reveal, I think helps a little bit, because these traps aren't going away because they've been detected now. You just know, like, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't face check that one. It doesn't mean that the teammate behind you in your average ARAM game isn't going to forget that you found it. And
hey guys, I found this thing. Let me go check it out. No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another big part here, right, is that Lightbringer and Arcane Sweeper had this active component that let them sweep the brush and check the brush, and we no longer have that. So that means, like, if you fully trap up a brush, your opponents can see that and then not walk into that brush, but there's no way for them to safely clear it out unless they have access to the brush. So particularly those pixel brushes between outer and inner towers, like, you can still make very dangerous and make it so that your opponents, can know that there is a problem there but can't actually deal with it. So I think that ultimately this world is less hard countery than the other one.
Okay. So Teemo
Fingers
players, Shaco players, those of you that enjoy playing these characters on the map, you're probably okay.
Yeah, they were really strong, and they're probably still pretty strong.
Okay, all right, good. I just know those are the guys who are like, I'm always hard countered by that one item, and I'm like, all right, well maybe, I don't know, you kill them a lot, maybe be okay.
So it's worth calling out, like, we understand the problem. Like, the bare minimum I can say here is, like, the sweeper, this is an ongoing, like, how the hell do we fix the fact that stealth right now is on-off?
Yeah.
This is just a larger problem in League of Legends, is what should stealth be? How should you interact with someone who's always stealth or high-frequency stealth? how do we want these to actually play? What's the counterplay? We're still figuring this one out. Like, this one is just a hard question. So far, best answer is you should be able to figure out if you're probably in trouble, but not be able to turn off their stealth right away. We're probably going to come back to this one a couple of times.
Okay. All right. So stealth probably too big for us to solve in an ARAM update, but at least trying to catch up with Oracle's Lens where we are.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're
There
at.
you go.
Okay. So last two sections for ARAM, we have first off is newer starting items. So this is what? Guardian's Horn, Guardian's Hammer, Guardian's Orb, and then our old bud, the refillable potion, which really means the crew-upping potion.
Yeah, well, I mean, it means refillable too for some starts for people.
I suppose, yeah. Actually, what? Because 1450 gold. How much do you start off with?
You start with 1400,
right?
And the Guardian's Horn, Guardian's Orb, Guardian's Hammer are all 950, which means if you buy boots and a refillable potion, that's a convenient. Maybe someone thought of that. I don't know.
Oh wow, that's probably coincidence, honestly.
Yeah. So I guess Guardians items, these are meant to be Doran's replacements for ARAM.
Super Dorans, big Dorans.
Super Dorans, yeah, similar to like Prospectors on Dominion, RIP.
Yeah.
We can't do it. He was trying to do the Hunger Games whistle. Yeah,
Is that what that was?
Yeah,
He's
not
really
a good
bad
whistler.
at
He's a bad
whistling.
whistler.
Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, man. You gotta you miss. Wow, there you go.
Nice.
There we go.
You miss every whistle you don't whistle.
That's true.
Put that in a t-shirt. All right.
So yeah, they're trying to be the super Dorans. I mean, basically Dorans exist on Summoner's Rift to prop up characters who have a hard time in the laning phase, and need some help to get through. Right? It's like, here's some early power for you. You can invest in early power. It won't build into anything, but here's an easier time in the early game. And on ARAM, it's like, cool, we still want to have that, but you're starting at level 3, you're starting with more gold, and honestly, like, we want to enable you to start building the fun items that, like, your character feels great about buying earlier. So here's one that you can buy with your starting gold, never worry about another one again, and, there you go. Here's a good starting item if you need a good starting item.
Yeah.
All of them are kind of geared towards like regen type things, because we know that early poke is a big problem. So like Guardian's Horn has a lot of flat regen on it, and it has a good Doran's Shield block on it to help mitigate poke.
Lifesteal on the hammer.
Lifesteal on the hammer, flat mana regen on the orb. These are all things to just, make you feel better about staying out there for longer in ARAM and mixing it up with the opponents.
Cool. So that brings us to our last ARAM installment, and probably the most important one, Poro.
Oh my god, this one is amazing.
This is, and there was a heated debate about Poro snacks, and about
many actually.
Should we give you more Poro snacks? Like, some people believe it's like, no, summoning or exploding the Poro or whatever the hell that happens. I think I've done it like twice. That should be like the rarest occurrence, only when your opponents come together and do a thing with you, right? But it also just never happens. I don't know. This seems like an age-old problem for us at Riot Games.
There's also like a tech concern where if you give players a way to get Poro snacks repeatedly, they could set up a custom game and just keep getting Poro snacks. They could actually crash a server by spawning so many Poros with Poro explosions. So QA was like, hold on a second. We need to learn.
Yeah. So we landed on giving you a one-time refresh.
One-time refresh. So
how do we feel morally about this?
I feel great about it. I'm feeling wonderful.
I'm really excited. I love Poros exploding.
Okay, so we don't have any Poro snacks haters.
Not in this room.
Yeah, no, I can go find you 5 right now. Yeah, probably. Okay, well, so break it down. Why did we land on this? Because, crashing a game server sounds like fun, guys.
It does sound fun.
At least
it turns out it's not. Who knew? But yeah, so I mean, there were all these restrictions we had to have, but we still wanted to give people more Poro snacks because we never see the Poro explosion. And so this way, if half the people in the game know how to feed one Poro and make it explode, they can still do a concerted effort and make it happen, rather than needing all 10 to know exactly what they're doing and then have the awkward all chat thing where it's like, feed the Poro, he's at 9.
Yeah. So start all chatting with someone. You just took our tower. Feed him. Yeah. So quick question before you move on. Do they stack? Do you get 2?
Oh man, we talked about that. I don't know. Did we ship with that?
I don't
Patrick,
know.
Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
We'll
It's a
get our best
mystery.
men on.
Yeah.
top man.
I
We'll check
know
someone
it's
who
something
knows.
we talked about. I don't know if we got it
Yeah,
going.
because I remember this was like this was maybe a tech concern.
You
Yeah.
can just edit out this question, right?
Yeah, we can.
We're
we
gonna
can
edit
totally.
this part out. Keep rolling.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So now let's get to everything happening in the rest of the patch. You know, just as usual. Let's take time if we need to, but a lot of these seem straightforward. Some of them aren't, though. I want to jump straight to masteries, which is the last two. for you
Okay,
guys on your
Okay.
notes.
Well, that
Because I want to get Mr. Graylock here in his element. I want
Okay.
We have changes to 5 masteries, my dude, and I expect you to know why for every.
Okay.
Okay, Grasp of the Undying. Hell of a mastery.
great mastery.
Yep.
Very
Fantastic.
powerful.
And
Everyone
by that
loves
I
it.
mean it is very, very strong. It is, and it's never stopped being strong. And here we are, kind of revisiting it here. So long term, what are your views for Grasp, Joe? And why have we settled on this one right now?
Okay, so this one actually feeds into a larger issue we've been dealing with, which is masteries have been giving out a lot of sustain, and we have let the sustain ones be fairly dominant for a while now. We've been making these tiny nudges or doing small nerfs to the sustain, and we're kind of at a point where we could keep nerfing the sustain ones, and they'll just not be masteries anymore. Instead of doing that, which is terrible, we are trying to make the options against the sustain ones better and removing sustain where it wasn't really doing that much, or just we didn't want it to be the power profile you cared about. For Grasp, this means we're actually letting this hit harder. We like tanky dudes who have a reason to like have more interesting trades. We just don't think they need quite as much health back from it. In practice, this isn't actually one that people have, like in playtest, felt like they lost a ton of health. I think because the trades are actually still pretty strong when you're using this well.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty equivalent, right? But that I mean, you are losing a decent amount of health in elongated trades. You probably just don't feel as bad because it's probably still close either way, right?
Yeah, and I mean I like the direction of this change a lot because one of the things that I felt as a player is that when you got to the end of the what is it, defensive tree? It's not defensive tree. It's resolve tree. When you got to the end of the resolve tree, sorry, my bad.
League of Legends.
Yeah, it's just like all of them. Yeah, it was the grasp tree.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Unless you're a jungler.
The fervor tree, the thunderlord's tree, and the grasp tree.
So getting back on the track, so the thing is that like all of these in some way were like making me tankier, and I feel like this one sends a more clear message that's like this is the one I take if I want to be a tanky dude and still deal damage, right? Like this is like the end of the resolve tree where I'm Darius and I want to murder you rather than
but I need all the other stuff to survive.
Right,
but maybe I don't need the healing quite as much.
Yeah,
etc.
Yeah, this shouldn't be the healing. Like you shouldn't be taking this because it lets you heal forever. Where this is like, we know that a melee dude walking up to a lot of people is going to pay a lot of health for that. We want them to feel not terrible about taking that trade, and we can't sell it just on the damage, right? If this was just make the trade worth it based on the burst you get, it's going to be really gross.
Yeah, and then don't even get me started on what Malphite would do with that kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Yeah, it's not great. So,
but could you please?
No. Out you. All right. Fervor of battle. Stacks per ability cast 2-1. So what is this? You don't like ability users now? Is that what's going on?
So Fervor is supposed to be about you are a person who attacks a lot. And you can do some spells and stuff too, but this is about I have a slightly elongated like combat window where I attack you a whole bunch and I feel really great about it. What this actually was I am Lucian or somebody else who casts a tremendous number of spells in a quick window who stacks this to max almost instantly and makes you really hate their auto attacks later, but it didn't really favor auto attackers because spellcasts were worth so much and we're actually ramping you so far on this one.
Yeah.
Some attacker mastery. Take it if you want to attack people, not if you want to cast spells. That's my feeling.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what? I mean, you could take I mean, I guess you could take Deathfire Grasp if you want to attack.
Or
cast spells.
Thunderlords. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess.
Most
Yeah,
of the spellcasters.
yeah. If we're talking about in the Thunderlords tree, yeah, of course you would pick up the Thunderlords.
Yeah.
There you go.
But so worth calling out. DFT isn't terrible if you were an auto attacker. I know people see like, hey, it's a dude with the magic thing in his hand. People always like undervalue. It has a
80
really
ratio
good.
is really high.
Yeah,
If Jin
it
has
really does.
shown us anything,
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the game, it's like 3,000 damage from Deathfire Touch. You're like, that's a lot.
It's
That's
pretty
a lot of
good.
damage.
I'm
It's
just
a lot of
saying,
damage.
if you haven't looked at it, maybe you should look at it. It's pretty strong.
All right, so these three, I want to run through them super fast because they're kind of in the other trees. We have Double-Edged Sword, where you take more damage, but you deal more damage as well. That no longer is split amongst Ranger Melee. Veteran Scars, the one that gives you health, now gives you 5 more health, one more per rank. And then Natural Talent, the one gives you 80 in AP, still gives you the same amount by the end, but now it gives you a little bit more up front. So it's like 2 AD and 3 AP at level 1 or something.
Yep.
Which I think is a deal. So these are all they're tiny tweaks to little masteries, but why are we there? What are we doing for these?
All right, so these are all ones that just could not compete with more early game focused options. Feast was really blocking out Double-Edged Sword for a huge number of champions that felt really bad about the disparity for ranged and melee. We're saying, okay, 1.5 damage taken is still a lot on a lot of these squishy characters. It's probably okay. We'll see. If it's not, we'll fix it. But we think you need to have some more options in that space because most characters didn't feel like they did. Veteran Scars, Natural Talent, both of these were... Veteran Scars just need to be better. It just was not competing, like, really at all. Natural Talent was trying to ask you to take a mastery for late game. We kind of know that doesn't work. The amount of late game power you need to make a mastery worth it compared to an early game option gets really game warping. It's gross.
Yeah, that was like early Warlord's Bloodlust, right? Where it was like, this thing is just going to completely make you unkillable later, but are you going to take it?
Yeah,
yes,
can
no.
you get through lane?
Yeah. How will you fight the Thunderlords? What will you do? Yeah, no, I can totally see that one. This is a lot of this is pretty open and shut for me. The one that I like the most, though, or I guess the two, I really like the Natural Talent change probably the most, and then I like the Double-Edged Sword one too, because I always, even if I was going to take it anyways, you always feel bad, right? Anytime there's something that says like, this is less good on you, you're like, but I still want it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, that's fine. It just be melee scrub. So I don't know. I like to play my 80 carries like melee champions anyways. So Misfortune, here we go. Let's do it.
Cool.
Bullet time is going to deal 1,000,000 damage. All right, so
It already does.
I was about to say, what's that's just
a million and one damage. There you go. Per wave, of course. So, so running through the rest of them, we have some champions, we have some items. Let's jump into the champions because there's not too many. But Corki, we talked about Corki last time. We had some little Corki changes. These seem bigger.
Yeah, these ones are a bit bigger. As we said in the last one, we didn't expect that to be the end of the tale for Corki.
Yeah, none of us were like, a little bit more damage on the rockets?
Done.
Finished. Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing some more stuff here. Buffing up the Gatling gun. Corki's supposed to, I guess the thing that we kind of settled on with the changes, I forget when we did the attack damage ratio on his basic attacks.
Yeah, I think it was 6.7 or 6.8. It was
something like that. It's been
probably like 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago.
Yeah, a little while ago. Was that this is supposed to be a character who's supposed to be more about his spellcasts. And one of the things that stood out to us is that Gatling Gun wasn't exactly feeling good as a spellcast. So kind of the narrative for this batch is we wanted to make Gatling Gun feel significantly better as a cast. So we buffed up the damage a little bit.
Not a lot, but in some cases, some levels it's
yeah, there was actually this weird thing where it didn't get the same amount of damage with every rank. So the first 4 ranks used to give you 48, and then the last rank would give you like 88 or something. It was it was bizarre. So anyway, the TLDR on this is like levels 2, 3, and 4 should feel a little bit better than they did before, but his rank 5 was randomly already really good.
yeah. Oops.
Yeah, that's one of those oops moments where you're like, hey, wait, this number doesn't look right.
Yeah. And this one it always feels weird too, right? Because it's like quarter-second ticks or something, right?
Yep.
And it's split damage. It's physical magic. So you see like 8s and 9s popping up all over the place as your opponent is like brutally murdered, right? Like oh, this doesn't look like it's doing a lot of damage. It really does.
Just half a health bar.
Really
Yeah. Not a lot. Lots of 8s.
One of the important things to know is that with the tick rate going up, that means that the armor and magic resist shred that come from Gatling Gun are getting applied twice as fast. So this also means the ability in and of itself will be doing more damage and also just ramping up to all of Corky's damage more quickly. So,
but the caps aren't changing. So you're not like shredding more. You're just getting to the shred
getting to the
endpoint.
max
Faster.
Yep.
Yeah. And it just feels kind of iconic for me. I used to play a lot of Corky. You Falcon, you press Gatling Gun the moment you make it there, and then you just vomit all your damage onto them, right? And it feels like he's really similar to Lucian in that if you found that one little pocket, that one little misposition, you could really punish it. And this feels like it's actually going further on that, which I think you couple it with our buffs last patch. I still start to feel good about Corky in that realm and like his ability to do that.
Yeah, I also think the Valkyrie change is pretty big early. 6 seconds less cooldown early game is pretty big.
It's a lot of safety.
Dash. Yeah.
So moving on to Fizz, I swear we were just talking about a character a lot like this. So
no, who could you
never
be talking
happened.
about? Yeah, never.
we would never have a slippery assassin with % missing health damage that built tank and became a problem.
Yeah, that sounds right. This is the first time we're looking at this.
No. All right, Fizz. This one, I feel like it almost came out of nowhere. Was this like a King of the Hill? Like the moment you knocked down Echo, this guy comes right back up?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he was kind of waiting in the wings for a while. He was on our radar already, and then we knocked Echo down. And it's like, there's Fizz.
Yeah.
Not surprising. All
There
right,
it is.
it's
So-
time to do it.
So before we talk about what we're doing here, in fact, I'll just read out the changes because I think they're self-explanatory,
Sure.
right? This is, we're losing a little bit of base damage on the W, right? Goes into our old build damage to get damage thing. Sounds fine. Lowering or increasing the cooldown of Playful Trickster, saying, hey, that 8 seconds for this ability probably isn't fine when you can get CDR so easily, right? Hitbox change, which might need a little bit of explanation, but the thing here
You should be able
that,
to hit him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You should be able to hit him. The thing here that I want to focus on and the conversation I want to have for this is a lot of people say, okay, it was Nautilus and Rammus, then it was Echo. Well, before Echo, it was Poppy. Then it was Echo and Poppy. Now it's Fizz, right? At a certain point, is this not just a whack-a-mole of the same problem over and over again? In terms of the build, the masteries, like...
Yeah.
Are we going to see this again after we change Fizz? Is it just going to be Riven? Is it just going to be Jace or something else that seems twisted?
I mean, if Riven is winning with Frozen Fist, Sunfire, Grasp of the Undying, yeah, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
I gotta go do a playtest.
I need to take a playtest right now. Can we take a playtest break?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question, right? I think that these aren't all the same problem. For instance, I think Poppy's a very different problem than Echo and Fizz. I think Echo and Fizz are basically the same problem. But yeah, I guess it's on our radar. Sunfire Cape, Spirit Visage, Iceborne Gauntlet, Grasp of the Undying, right? Like that's been the story of this season. We've got Grasp changes in here. We're gonna keep incrementally doing these things, but we could just nerf that build into the ground and then let the new build rise to the top. But I think we really, in this case, are trying to incrementally bring it down, bring stuff like Triforce up, and see if we can like get to that point where it's in a nice balanced state. I know that it's been like, this is the best build for a while, and we're trying to like not overshoot it and just kill that. But this is the route that we're going, and I don't know what more to say on that. It's like, hopefully Fizz is the end of the like dominant with this build type stuff. And I would say that they've been feeling like they've been getting progressively less dominant to me, other than perhaps Echo. But Echo, I mean, was just...
I think he had a lot more problems than just...
He had a lot of problems.
I think that's what we're talking about. Joe, how do you feel about this? About the build, the mastery, everything?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a good question, right? It is, and we talk about this a lot, whether we should be nerfing the items that are causing this to the champions. And I think the question for me is, like, where do we believe the base power of tank should be, and where do we want these items to be able to give a tank X amount of damage to let them function in lane, function in these earlier team fights, right? Because that's where we see a lot of this power. I think in relation to other champions outside of if in relation to ADCs, I think giving a lot of tanks access to 2 reasonable armor items that they feel not terrible about does a lot of good for tank agency, because when we see them in the old world of like build your frozen heart, just that's the one good armor item.
And it was good enough to just
Randuin's.
be the one. You're pretty much happy doing that.
Right. And it was only that because it was the most efficient item in the game.
Yeah.
Now, I think we were a little off in our estimations of obviously where Frozen Fist, Iceborne Gauntlet and Sunfire were. I think we kind of underestimated how good we made them, and we've been slowly pulling them down. But, I mean, when we have balanced items, I think we are closer to an ecosystem of armor items that actually start to have trade-offs against each other. And once we have that, like, getting to that point has exposed a lot of champion problems too, and it probably will still do that. That doesn't make the goal of having these items compete with each other less worthy of going after. It does expose how painful it can be to get some of these outliers, like a 70% efficient item. Fixing that ecosystem takes a lot of time. That's a thing we screwed up and we had a debt to pay.
Okay. So it sounds like baby steps. We'll keep hitting them as they come up, but we're hoping that these slight changes down, as well as slight things up. You brought up Triforce, which I actually think is a really good point, right?
Yep.
Hopefully we get them into a balance without having to just nuke one from orbit, right? Which, I'm into that.
We've been trying to avoid that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So some more quick hits. We have Syndra. Got some ratio up on W and E. Where's the state of Syndra right now? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think I don't think this is the end of Syndra again. I think she's been a little bit weaker, I should say, since the mid-season rework, and she was already not necessarily on the strong side beforehand. So we'll still be looking at her, but these felt like some free wins that we could just take right now, where it's like, you know what? She's supposed to be this ascendant mage. We took away the extra damage that she was getting on Q, and it just felt like she needed more scaling to like help her out in the mid to late game. Felt free to me.
Look, man, the more you buff my jungle Syndra, the happier I'll be. So I'm good to go.
Great.
I don't think we can buff that one enough to feel good about that one.
That's one with it on stream. That's all I needed to know. Xin X to the Z. Did not expect to see health changes on him.
Yeah, so
usually we're in the zone of like get him more damage or make items better on him or something. Break down this, because this is not what I'm used to.
Sure. So with Xin Zhao, I guess we took away Rageblade in the mid-season. It's still a good item on him, but it's not as crazy a power spike as it was prior to
It's
mid-season.
not your first two, for sure.
Some people are still doing it. Trinity Force is moving in as primary second, but I mean,
we'll see how it shakes out.
We'll see how it shakes out. Either way, he lost a bit of killing power from that for sure, because the old Rageblade was just so powerful. And with the speed at which he's killing people, we're kind of comfortable with right now. He's kind of killing people too fast before mid-season, and now we're like, okay, this is like a reasonable pace for Xin Zhao to be killing people. And then we're like, okay, well then why isn't he succeeding? And it's like, well, this is a dude, he goes into the middle of a fight and he stays there. And he has to build offensive items to even do his job. So I was like, well, if that's the case, he needs to be tankier. Otherwise, I have to make him kill people faster. And so it's just like,
and yeah, the 40%. Not that I don't think he was ever had this, but like 40% chance to have Xin Zhao instantly murder you world is like probably not one that I'm excited to be in. So giving him more of that playing field of like, okay, lesser time to kill, but you don't blow up instantly seems fine for divers overall, right? And like kind of where we hope for them to live. In the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you summed it up there. I think that also that Xin will probably keep looking at in the future a little bit. One of the things that I've personally been trying to look at on this guy is we did a Q refactor on him a while ago, and this is one of those cases where players are like, this feels really clunky, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, it really does. So I'm starting to try to track down some stuff there as well. Hopefully we'll be able to make that Q feel a little bit better in the future as well.
All right, almost near the end of our time here together, but we have three major things to hit on. The first one, it's actually a little lighter than people might be expecting, but we have a change to Zed. Zed's shadows now have a nice little circle around them, which I think on like any other character, you just read that note, you'd kind of move on. You'd be like, oh, I need a little clarity thing, right? But on Zed, that's actually
huge.
A really big deal.
Yeah.
Because the number of times he's like triple giga shurikening around and you can't even see what's happening, or hell, even in lane, it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Those shadows are so hard to read. So I think clarity was very much needed here. We need to make it fair for the opponents. They need to be able to see where the shadows are. I mean, part of it is their shadows. They're supposed to look shadowy and cool. At the end of the day, like this is a PvP video game. Like you need to be.
They are clones and they will kill you.
Yeah,
and
they will just murder you, and he will swap places with them, and then he'll murder you, and you'll be dead twice. You know.
Yeah, I remember August coming over and being Gypsy Lord coming over and being like, "Can I put circles on shadows?" I'm like, should I not do that? I mean, why? Why would you not do? No, check this in tonight. Like, please, for the love of God, I would love to know where they were for once.
Yeah.
And in playtest, it's actually been pretty amazing on both sides, right? Like playing with, playing against. I never realized how much I did not know those things were where they were.
Of them until you see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. So clarity win seems like it affects both people pretty well.
I'm interested to see how much it'll actually affect him, because it seems big to me playtesting it as well, but you never know until it hits.
Exactly. Yep. Right. So moving over, we have a series of changes that I would like to group together. Infinity Edge and Essence Reaver are getting 5 AD.
5 AD.
The dream.
My absolute favorite. My clan tag in League of Legends is 5 AD. So a lot of people are like, why does it say sad? I'm like, that's a 5. That's a meme right there. And then we have Lord Dominic's Regards and Mortal Reminder getting 10 AD.
Yep.
Yomu's Ghostblade is losing 5, and Bilgewater Cutlass is actually getting a little cheaper. So these are all kind of targeted at the same space,
they
right?
Are?
Like. Oh my God, Joe. I was like, for a second, I was like, there's no way, there can't be. Anyway, so they seem like they are all targeted at marksman. Two at least being almost primarily bought by marksman. But break down for me the little nudgings, the up and downs of the 80 carry items here.
Right. So obviously, I'm going to talk about the giant elephant in the room, which is all these Ghostblade builds. I mean, we're changing it, so it's not that elephanty.
Yeah.
Right, so
the black cleavers, the flat pen on
the
80
dusk
carries.
blade, even because it's
Duskblade Misfortune hype.
Yeah. All right. So we started to see marksmen opting out of all these items that we thought were built for marksmen. Like specifically, we wanted them to be attractive. That we want them to help their patterns make more sense. And it became really clear that these items weren't satisfying and didn't have the benefits, especially compared to these early rushes, right? Like doing these early pen builds and these early AD builds, you weren't losing enough damage compared to the other options. And we could just nerf them and they would feel terrible, or by splitting the difference, by making some of those early pen builds not quite so crushingly strong and good at scaling, while making your 2-item spike and your 3-item spike later with the Lost Whisper upgrades. Yeah. By making those feel like they have a better long-term payoff, we can keep the idea of you can go these early pen builds, take a kind of riskier lane where you have to suppress your opponent, or you can go into these marksman items and your 2- and 3-item builds should really feel like they take off compared to these Black Cleaver builds. Yeah.
This feels to me like so there's a classic argument that happens with players where they're like, don't nerf Lucian, buff everyone else, right? And it's like, it's not the problem that he's overpowered, which he is, or was. I think he actually got hit a bit this patch, right? But it's like, let's do that. This item build thing, I actually think lives in a similar space, but I'm kind of on the opposite side of it, which is, it's not actually that this pen thing is as out of control, but that there are just some carries that can't use it, right? And it feels like weird that you have to go home to your regular Infinity Edge and be like, I don't want to do this build. It doesn't feel as efficient. Why is this less good?
Yeah,
right?
and the comparison between the two is really striking to me because like I hadn't thought about it, and then people start doing it. And I'm like, oh yeah, Ghostblade does give 65 AD. So does Infinity Edge, and it's got this sweet active and 20 armor pen and 10 CDR. And, oh my gosh, it all makes sense, right? And so And so yeah, it's just like, well, what is the difference of these supposed to be? And it's like, well, one of them is supposed to give you AD to help you scale into the later game, and the other one's supposed to help you spike out on base damages from abilities. So let's play that up. That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
And then Cutlass has just felt bad. Like Cutlass has just not felt like it is a reasonable spot in your item progressions, like kind of at all. The endpoints aren't really changing, but especially in lane, it is important that when you go back and spend this much gold that you come back with something that feels like you can fight somebody a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
So bringing the cost down so you're not comparing it against like a giant item and maybe another longsword, like getting this down a couple points in the thresholds, I think helps a lot about all those characters that have to go Bork. That's like, that's their jam. That's only way they're going to go.
Yeah, the veins, the twitches, all that. Every time I come back in a lane, I see my opponent comes back in a lane with longsword vamp scepter. I'm like, ho, I am going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And I guess now they're going to have an item. They're going to have an active.
They might have a real item.
Yeah. They might. Okay, last call. We have it's kind of two changes in one, but we have Rod of Ages as well as just the catalyst changes to all the items in general. Rod of Ages is going up by 100 gold, and then all of the catalyst upgrades, that's the GLP, the Rod of Ages, and Righteous Glory are losing some of their health return. So hit me, take me home. What's going on?
Yeah, so from the mid-season, we did some mage item updates, and the one prevalent thing that we saw in performance metrics, how much they're winning. Everyone who bought Rod of Ages was really happy. They were doing great. Their win rates went up a ton, and part of it is just like Rod of Ages was just really, really efficient. And another part of it is that most of them had toggle spells or very high cost spells that they could get a lot of health back from on the Catalyst passive, especially when they finished their item early. Because if you're going Rod of Ages, you're feeling
you get it first, right? So we're talking like what? Swain, Anivia, Aurelian Soul,
Kassadin.
Yeah, Karthus, I think is what, like the big.
He's
one,
the king. Don't.
I want to keep him.
Dare not speak his name.
Did I say Kassadin? Yeah, Kassadin. Right, guys?
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, Karthus too.
Yeah, just a bunch of these guys. They're doing great, and the common thread is Rod of Ages. So Rod of Ages was a bit overpowered, up in the cost a bit there, and then just across the board, the Catalyst passive upgrading, the conversion of mana cost into health, seemed like a cool thing to put on the items in the mid-season. But again, since everyone just rushes Rod, it's like that higher value that they were getting right off the bat, the 0.25, and we're bringing that down to just a 0.2, back to where it is at Catalyst. That part doesn't get better when you upgrade now, because especially with Swain, you can see it. Like there's a lot of healing in his kit, but then there's like also this item feeding into all of his healing. It's just like
completing Rod of Ages and Aurelian Soul feels unfair.
Yeah,
it's just I already stand in the wave and I just let you hit me to give me more mana to continue wave clearing, and then I just comet back to lane anyways. And then when I finish the item, which I finish faster than you because it's so cheap, my mana pool is enormous, and I'm like, oh, let's just sit on this for a while. Let's just heal forever. And I think that's the thing for me, is it's like, you don't think of finishing these items as having like a heal spike, right? And yet it is actually the case.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and Karthus couldn't even use his passive. I mean, that's no. But yeah, I mean, like the one thing I want to call out here is, like, we had talked about, are these items a problem for a couple of patches now? We had a real hard time figuring out like where is the problem, because we saw Swain going up and down. We saw a bunch of champions move up and down. We stopped seeing that. We started to see like, oh yeah, okay, if you can buy Rod of Ages,
now they're just up.
You're just crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like now that we've gotten everyone into good spots,
the results are in.
It was clear we weren't in a good spot, and it was something in the foundation making it bad. So this adjustment, I think, will do a lot to get a lot of these people in a state where we can balance anything around them and feel good about it.
All right, well, that is it. That's everything. That's patch rundown 612. We ran it down. It has been run down, run over. It's runned down, as they may say, my ancestors in Alabama.
They wouldn't say ran down. They'd say runned down.
It was runned down.
Oh yeah, runned down.
Yeah, runned down. All right, okay. We're going crazy over here, but I'm excited to get out and play some ARAM matches. I hope the rest of you guys are too. Thank you to our guests, SmashGizmo and Riot Fearless, or just regular Fearless.
Just Fearless.
Who just, just regular old Fearless.
Account 87, man. Come on.
Riot Bravery. There you go. just super fearless over here. Thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with me, especially next to the little death trap over there. To make sure that everything was good. Yeah. Oh no, we've lost Joe. Nothing of consequence was lost that day.
Damn.
He can't respond. He's dead now. And so for all of you who enjoyed this, please leave us a comment on SoundCloud. Leave us a thumbs up, like, review, upvote, whatever it is that you do on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever it is that you end up listening to this thing, or a comment on the boards if that's where you found this as well. We will be doing these every 2 weeks, so we will be back with 613. Just gonna have a little support action, so stay right in your chair, support players for 2 whole weeks, and then
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. That's actually incredibly unhealthy. But if you did, in 2 weeks you would find the shiny new 613. So that's all for us here at the Patch Rundown, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.